What's going on? My name is Caleb and I am a full-time reseller. I've been reselling full-time for over 3 years and reselling in general about 4 years now. And I just recently dipped my toe in to the world of live selling on a platform called Whatnot. And today that's what we're going to talk to you guys about. We're going to talk to you about my opinion and my thoughts on live selling. And then at the end, we're going to open it up to some questions and answer your guys' questions about live selling from my limited experience, of course. But first, I'll jump on here first and say that live selling is a relatively new phenomenon. A lot of platforms have it. I would say the main live selling platform that I hear talked about in the reselling space is the app and website and platform Whatnot, and that is where I tried my hand at live selling. So my experience is going to be based on that platform, but there are other platforms doing this live selling. If you're not familiar with what live selling is, it's basically just like we're on this live stream right here. Only I'll be holding up items and you'd be able to bid and purchase those items either auction style or even at a fixed price now, directly from the video that you're watching. So that's a little bit of what live selling is if you're completely new to this. I finally kind of dipped my toe in the water. A lot of people have talked about doing it. A lot of people have been doing it for a long time. And I figured you never really know unless you try. So I figured, hey, let's give this thing a shot and see if it's actually worthwhile, something I want to put time into, invest resources into. All those things you never really know unless you try. You see people having huge success live selling, but doesn't mean that it's right for me. Does it? Is there something that they're doing that I'm not able to do? Am I willing to put in the legwork to get to a sustainable business on there? All these are questions I was very unsure of, but I knew that if I never signed up, ran a show, got started, I would honestly never know for myself. So, like I said, I did actually have my first and my second show since deciding to join. So now I'm going to be speaking from a little bit of experience, not a ton of experience, but a little bit of experience live selling. And pretty much when people saw that I had a show, everyone asked me the same question. What do you think of Whatnot? What do you think of live selling? What do you think? How was your first show? All those kinds of questions. So I'll give you a couple of my bullet point thoughts. Then we're going to jump into a little bit of the numbers. Then I'm going to dream with you guys a little bit. And then I want to answer your guys' questions about either my experience or just your thoughts on live selling as well. So if you're here live, definitely drop it in the chat. If you're watching the replay, go in the comments, let me know your questions so that I can answer them or talk about them in a future video. My initial thoughts, it's very different. If you're used to traditional reselling, it's going to feel different. It is just very different. My second point would be that it's actually a lot of fun. It helps that I have experience coming on live and making videos and being in front of the camera. So to me, it was a fun experience, not really like nerve wracking or scary or anything like that. It was mostly fun. Of course, I was nervous about how the show would go, but as far as just like being on camera, to me, that's fun being on camera and interacting with you guys. And the third thing that I'll say is I can really see the power of live selling. I still don't know what I'm going to ultimately do with live selling, but I can really see the power and the potential. And that to me is really important because I want to invest my time, resources, energy, money in things where I can see the potential really taking off. And after reselling for the last 4 years or so, reselling individual items, especially secondhand items, it's a very linear business. If you buy more good items and list more good items and sell more good items, you can increase your income, but you can only increase it so much without having to hire additional help or more employees to just increase the number that you're able to list. And that's really the only way you can grow. There's no real exponential curve ability on just your standard reselling operation. Yes, you can buy and sell more items, but you really do come to a maximum that you can do yourself, and then you have to pay other people to do that. And you can only grow that so big if you want to stay a small business, which is one of my goals, because I don't really want to spend a ton of time managing other people. I would rather keep my business small to keep my flexibility and the most simple life I can have, because that's one of my goals for being self-employed, is to keep a simple life. So anyway, all that being said, sorry, that was a little tangent. I really like seeing the potential and the power that live selling can have, because it opens up ideas for somebody that's just done something one way for like 4 years. It is just a fresh perspective and really gets my business entrepreneurial side thinking, how can we really do this thing if I were to do it? Like I said, I'm still very early on and very unexperienced, but yeah, I have enough of a taste to try to figure out which way is up. So I'm going to jump into the numbers a little bit on my first show. And I'll share a couple numbers from my second show, but I don't have as much detailed information just because I haven't really gone through and figured that out yet. But for my first show, I spent 2 hours pulling items out of my eBay inventory or stuff that I hadn't listed yet, and kind of organizing it, putting up pictures on the Whatnot platform so that everything would be preloaded, because I didn't want to be scrambling through my first show. And then the show itself took 2 hours. And then I spent about 2 hours shipping all of the items. And so my first show, I was sold 78 items, which a couple of those were giveaways. I think I did 7 giveaways on my first show. But we had 78 orders, and my gross revenue was $1,484. I went in after the fact and estimated the best I could for the items that I sold what my cost of goods was, because I don't keep individualized cost of goods records. I just do like my overall for tax purposes. But I went through and guessed, like knowing what my thrift usually prices things for. And if I remembered exactly what I paid for, I just put in exactly what I paid for it. And all said and done, from the 1,484, the 78 orders, and for 6 hours of work, my profit on that show was $594. So that is about $100 per hour. And that was with me not really knowing what I was doing. I definitely could cut the prep time where I put 2 hours pulling items. I definitely could cut the prep time way down now that I know a little bit more of what I'm doing. It's not always necessary to fully preload the show as well. So you could have different presets and things set up so you're not having to do a bunch of legwork ahead of time. I do recommend that if you're just starting, though, just to make things run smoother, and it definitely helped me. I probably will continue to do that, at least at the beginning. And then the 2 hour shipping could definitely be cut down to well under an hour if I had systems in place while I'm running the show to keep things more organized. I had no system whatsoever. So at the end of the show, I just had everything in my basement, and my shipping station is out in my garage. And I basically just had to carry armfuls of stuff from the basement out to the garage and then pick through the entire mess to make sure everybody's order was correct. So definitely could cut that time down. And then, even the time of the show, selling 78 items in 2 hours, I definitely could do more in less time, which you'll see when I talk a little bit about the second show. But right off the bat, we're at $100 profit per hour on that first show, which if you came to the show, thank you so much for coming out. It was really fun. And obviously that type of profit is great for me. $100 per hour, really doing anything from my perspective is a great income. But that number right there really got my brain turning. Like, how realistic is it to do $100 profit per hour for an extended amount of hours every single week. And that's where it kind of gets tricky, and you really would have to figure out how you want to do things if you wanted that to be sustainable. Now, I will throw out a couple thoughts before um, we do a little bit of dreaming together. Um, I'm on social media. I have 11,000 subscribers on YouTube at the moment. I have like 4,000 Instagram followers, a few thousand TikTok followers. So I also had some very generous friends that rated my stream right off the beginning because it was my first show. So shout out to Wayne at K-Way Shop and Chris at Flip the World. Really appreciated them bringing in some of their viewers to be buyers in my show. So, of course, a lot of things went into this first show being such a success. If you were starting out without any following whatsoever and no promotion whatsoever, it definitely would be difficult to have a lot of people in your show. And without a lot of people in your show, it would be more of a grind and a slower start than what I had. Basically, I just kind of skipped that first step of getting at least some people in your show. And I say skip, but it took, over a year of really hard work out here grinding on videos and posting content to get, those followers and everything, and even the relationships with other streamers and things like that. So, I definitely put my time in to get there in a different way. But if you were just growing solely on Whatnot, you'd really have to focus on the customers that are there and be confident with the business model and the type of show that you're trying to run, and just be really committed to it. But you definitely can do it. It just would take you longer to kind of get the ball rolling and get off the ground, which I would say my first show was definitely off the ground compared to just, starting cold turkey. I know it's normally stopping cold turkey, but can you start cold turkey? I don't know. One thing that I do want to say is that almost everybody that reached out to me had the impression that either I or what Whatnot is for people that are really good eBay resellers is a way to move old product and to move bad inventory that doesn't sell. And from the just the about 100 and let's see 120 130 items that I ran so far, I can tell you that if that is your goal for Whatnot, you can use it that way. But it's going to be very, very hard to build a successful, thriving business if your thought process is this is a place to offload old inventory or sell my junk. Because the items that I put up that like didn't have a ton of value, I just thought were cool, didn't really get many bids, or maybe sold for the $1 or $2 start. But every item that I put on there that was a good item that I would pick up at the thrift store again if I saw it, they all got at least one bid for, a lot of those items I started at either 5, 10, or $15. Every single item in both my shows got a bid at a 5, 10, or $15 price. So what that told me was, if you want to be successful in here, you have to actually give good inventory, not use it as a liquidation website. And so if you do want to sell on Whatnot, I really recommend don't let your mindset go to I can liquidate inventory, or I can just burn through the stuff that doesn't sell on eBay. I would actually say if you really wanted to take Whatnot seriously, I would put the very best items on Whatnot, because a random Nike t-shirt, I think I sold it for $1 as my very first auction on Whatnot. And I know that it would sell for 15 to 20 bucks plus shipping on eBay, but it was only a $1 Whatnot item. And that was with over 100 people in my stream. But I sold a Carhartt jacket that I had listed on eBay for, I think, $79.95 plus shipping, sold for $70 on Whatnot, because that's a really good item and everybody was bidding to get that item, and was bidding each other up because it was an actually good item that people wanted. So that was just a little thing that I wanted to throw in there. If you're watching this and considering Whatnot, if you really want to take it seriously, I would recommend putting better stuff on there and saving the not as good stuff for eBay, because you can get, it might take a lot longer, but you can get decent money for some of those items on eBay, whereas you're not going to get good money for bad inventory on Whatnot. You're only going to get good money for good inventory on Whatnot, because you're really seeing what the instant immediate value of it is in that point in time. You're not seeing what somebody may pay for it at one, in a 6 month period. One person might pay $20 one time, but in 60 seconds or sometimes 15 seconds, what is really the most that somebody would be willing to pay? And that's what it's going to sell for, because it's doing its own market analysis amongst the people in your show right there. So that would be a little tangent, because everybody I talked to was like, "Oh, are you going to use that to liquidate old bad inventory?" And no, I'm not going to use it to do that. Now, like, I know that people, if they sold on eBay previously and they want to go all in on Whatnot, then yeah, it might be worthwhile to sell every single one of your items on Whatnot, even if it is just for $1, just to build an audience and give people deals and all those things. But if you're going to keep an eBay business going, I wouldn't recommend pulling your 10 worst items and selling them on Whatnot, because you're not going to get very much for them, and you're going to attract, you're going to put off buyers that want to find good items if you're running not good items. So that would be my recommendation. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the second show. I don't have as detailed numbers, but I knew that the first show was going to be way better than the second show because people were rating the stream. It had the hype of it being my first show ever. I put a ton of time, not a ton of time, I put extra effort into promoting the show. I shared it on my Instagram story multiple times that week. I made a short form content about it. So that went on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I put a little thing in my video where the viewers could vote on what item was going to be auctioned off at $1, and promoted it relatively heavily in my video that week. And so I was definitely trying to get the momentum going and get the snowball pushed over the hill with this first show. But then you got to follow it up. I knew people would tune in because they're curious on the first one, but would people come back the second time? And that's why I think it's important to have good items, because if you have good stuff, then people will come back. So the second show, I would say my viewership was about somewhere between 50 to 75% of the first show, which was actually a lot better than I thought. I still was able to sell every single item that I brought onto the show. I did 67 orders for $1,068 in revenue, and that show only took me about 85 to 90 minutes. So I got better because I knew what I was doing and I was able to go a little bit faster. And I just kind of threw on here on my notes that if I had to guess, I probably made about $250 to $300 profit after my cost of goods and after fees and everything on that second show. So still, honestly, a pretty good profit per hour, because I was able to do all those things a lot faster and I knew what I was doing a little bit more with the shipping. I spent a lot less time with the prep up front. So still probably worked out, not quite that $100 per hour, but still probably, 50 plus per hour in profit on that second show. Now, I want to get to you guys' questions in the chat. So put your questions in the chat. We're going to get to there. The last thing I want to do is just dream a little bit with you guys so that you guys can, if you do want to live sell, you can change your mindset a little bit from the eBay mindset to the live selling Whatnot mindset. In my eBay store, I currently try to make minimum of $10, but I aim for mainly $15 profit and up per item that I sell. And on Whatnot, because you can sell so many items in one day or at one time, you have to be, not you have to be, but it's best to be okay with those items selling for less than they would on eBay. Because the truth is, they're just not going to sell for what they sell for on eBay or more unless you have a huge, insane following. And it does happen every now and then. But I would say on average, most of my items sold for above what I would pay at the thrift store, but well below what they would sell for on eBay. So people are either getting a really good deal or they're buying it to resell it. So on eBay, I aim for $15 profit, but let's say that you can get $7 profit per item on Whatnot. If you did $7 profit per item and you sold 50 items per day, so I did 2 shows, one was 78 items, one was 67 items. That took me about an hour and a half on the second show and 2 hours on the first show. So let's say once you get your operation really going, you could sell, you could stream for 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, and sell 50 items on average per day. Okay. So that would be like selling between 60 and 70 items for 1 hour, 5 days a week, which I think would be totally doable if you had good systems. Totally doable. So if you sold 50 items a day and you average $7 profit per item. Now keep in mind that's an average. You might buy a Nike t-shirt at a garage sale for $1 and sell that for $2 on Whatnot. And you're probably not making much money on that item. But if you buy a Carhartt for $20 and sell it for $70 on Whatnot, then you're making like $40 profit on that item. And you're averaging to $7 profit per item. Okay, if you did $7 profit per item for 50 items a day, that would be $127,000 in profit for the year. And if you're really able to do that, I would assume that you were able to grow your following and consistently improve with your sourcing and your margins and the amount of people coming to your show. And all those things would improve over an entire year, I would have to guess. So I would say that maybe by the end of the year, you could average $10 profit per item. Well, if you were able to profit $10 per item and sell the same 50 items per day, that would be $182,000 per year in profit, which I would say is a good income. From my personal experience, if I made $182,000 this year, I would be patting myself on the back as a full-time reseller. Now, of course, that would mean you are sourcing 50 items per day, doing the 1 hour show, let's say it's 5 days a week, and shipping 50 items a day. So there's definitely a lot more to it than just the show. I don't want to belittle how much work goes into it because a lot of work would go into selling, what is that, 50 times 7 days a week, 350 items per week. A lot would go into selling 350 items per week. So it's not a cakewalk, but I do think that that is a reasonable number that somebody could achieve if they really wanted to set out as that being their business model. So $7 profit, 1 hour streaming per day for 5 days a week. I would say you could realistically make over $100,000 profit. And as you grow, just doing that same exact system with the same items, you're going to get more profit as more people figure out who you are. You build your community, more people come to your show. You could make, $175,000 to $200,000 a year with that same exact system. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Let's see who's in the chat. Dre is here. What's up, Lenny? Thanks for this video. Whatnot is intimidating me to even try to start. I'm eager to learn as much as possible. It definitely is a learning curve. And like I said, I've only done 2 shows, so I'm no expert. But these are just some of my initial thoughts after doing 2 shows. It's very different from eBay, so you'd have to change your mindset. But there's just so much power in being able to sell 78 items in 2 hours. I would say I have a very fast selling eBay store. In the last 90 days, I have about 1,000 items listed and I have 1,500 items sold on eBay. And I also have like another 200 items sold, maybe 300 items sold on Poshmark in that time period. So I'm selling way, way faster than I can list right now on eBay and Poshmark. But I still have never had 78 orders in one day, let alone in 2 hours. So with my eBay store, cranking it as hard as I can, been building this for 4 years, I can't even come close to the volume that I did in just 2 hours. So that's where you have to shift your mindset to a volume game, because that's going to differ from eBay. Hi, Sandy. Wally's Finds, do you think it's good to hop on Whatnot if you do not have a following? I think it is a good idea to hop on Whatnot if you don't have a following. If you want to sell on Whatnot, I think it's also a good idea if you were to hop on Whatnot to create a social media account. Maybe you start by just posting, the items that are going to be in your show, and you build some marketing and social media marketing into your business a little bit. I think that the social media reach can go so far so fast between Instagram and TikTok and YouTube Shorts and YouTube videos. Like people really think about like a video getting 50 views as absolutely nothing and a failure. And now, of course, at my place in social media, if I posted a video only got 50 views, I would be like, something must be wrong because my videos typically get more. But if you really looked at 50 people standing right in front of you, you say you were doing like public speaking and you're just talking to 50 people, it would seem like a lot of people. And each person watching your video is an individual person sitting there. And if one of those 50 people became a viewer of your stream and a buyer on your stream, that could equate to thousands of dollars in sales over the course of years. So I do think it's good to hop on there without a following, because building the following on Whatnot, those are where the buyers are anyway. That's very important. If you have good items at good prices, if you can afford to give good items at good prices, excuse me, then people will come back. But I definitely recommend also putting yourself out there a little bit on social media, because it's free. It's a way to advertise for yourself for free. Guitar and drums done my way. How much are you allowed to sell? I'm pretty sure you can just let it rip. I just let it rip and sold 78 items in one day. Pokey Bro, what's going on? Opal Hanger in the house. If you are on Whatnot, you got to go follow Opal Hanger on Whatnot. They reached out to me on Instagram after I posted I was doing my first show. I think because some people I'm friends with kind of shared my show on Instagram, and they were so helpful with me in my DMs, answering a few questions that I had leading up to the show. They even came out to the first show and threw in some bids. So super kind people. They just had a podcast on Bo's channel, and it was nice to hear a little bit more about their story. So shout out to you guys. Wendy, what's going on? I want to do this so bad because I live between two bins and I'm pretty good at sourcing. If you source at the bins, I definitely think Whatnot is a very, very good tool to at least have in your tool belt. I personally pay, like in the winter time, because my cost of goods goes up because I buy more jackets. I would say it's between $8 to $10 on average, my cost of goods. So if I'm starting items for $5, I'm hoping that they get bid up so that I'm making money on every item. If I were sourcing everything I got from the bins, that $594 in profit would be more like $900 in profit if I got everything from the bins. If you can get your buy cost low, you can afford to sell a few things for $5, $6, $7, and still make it profitable, and move that inventory really quickly. Smash Flips, I think live selling is decent right now, but its future is up in the air. Whatnot is getting a lot of funding from investors, which will only go so far unless they go public. Well, even if they go public, I mean, the people at Whatnot are very motivated to make it work. Gary Vee is a huge influencer in the online space, and he is like really heavy on live selling being the future. So that is one reason why I really wanted to try it out. I forgot to put that in my notes. I really wanted to try out live selling, because if live selling is going to keep growing at the rate it's grown in the last 5 years or even faster, I want to be one of the early adopters and jump on quickly, because the people that are early on jumping onto something new that has potential are the people that are going to benefit the most from those things that have a meteoric rise. Locke says, you have to just jump into it. I got the system down on my second show, haven't done one in a long time. Yeah, you just got to jump in. And that's what I did when I started. So I signed up with a referral link from one of my friends so that they would get some money and I would get some money. Which, if you're thinking about selling and do want to sign up, there is a link in the top of the description to sign up with my code, and you get $150 matched uh, worth of sales. And I get a little kickback as well. So I'd really appreciate that if you do want to sign up to sell. But anyway, when I signed up, I saw that you have 7 days to get $150 matched. And honestly, I'm so grateful that that was there, because I just feel like if I wouldn't have had that pressure to do a show within 7 days, I would have just signed up and then put it on the back burner and kind of forgot about it. But because I had to do it in 7 days, I scheduled my show that weekend. I started promoting it in my videos, and it really got me motivated to get that first show going. And just starting is the hardest part of anything. I am a slow starter. I thought about starting reselling for like 9 months before I ever listed my first item. I thought about starting a YouTube channel like 2 years before I ever started one. I thought about selling on Whatnot for like a year before finally signing up and scheduling my first show. So don't be like me. Don't wait forever to do something. Just bite the bullet and just try something. And most of the time, there's really not too much bad that can happen anyway from just trying something. Smash Flip says it will be really tough on them to stay alive on just selling or buying fees. At some point, eBay or some other site may take the reins. We'll see. I mean, with all that money, they can hold the reins for at least a while longer. And the other live selling platforms aren't really keeping up with the tech that they have and the quality that they have. Um, so we'll see. I mean, they're the pioneers. So hopefully they can just ride that wave and keep going. But either way, a lot of the things I'm talking about are just live selling in general. It doesn't have to be Whatnot. That's the platform I chose to try. It doesn't have to be Whatnot. But live selling in general is mostly what a lot of the things I'm talking about would still apply on the other live platforms. What's up, Miss Lachey? I think it's a good tool if you use it appropriately and in balance. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. I think, like, going back to one of my points I said earlier, I think for me, it would be hard to really hit eBay hard and hit Whatnot hard, because if I'm putting my very best items on Whatnot to get the followers and to get my sales over there, my eBay store is definitely going to decline. And if I, excuse me, put all my best items on eBay and sell my junk on Whatnot, then my Whatnot's not going to go anywhere. So I do think it will be a hard thing to balance if I want to keep doing both at a high scale. So that's why I'm still very unsure of what I'm going to do. Like, I don't really know if I'm going to go hard on Whatnot or let it, fizzle out or what. I honestly have no idea. But these are my honest thoughts. So that's why we're here, right? So in balance, I don't know. I don't know if you can do it in balance personally. Wheelie Life, I went to a Whatnot stream that once lasted 9.5 hours. Well, hey, if somebody has that kind of stamina, there you go. Do it, Wendy. Yeah, that's right, Wendy. Do it. Use the link and do it. Caleb, what's up? I am good making $5 per item if I sell in a day and don't have to photo. Exactly. If you buy at the bins, you sell things for $7, you can make about $5 profit per item. You can find, let's say, 20 items in the morning, go home and sell them. That's $100 per day profit. 20 items at $5 profit is $100 profit per day. Joined a little late in the stream. I'm sure you answered it. What do you personally think of Whatnot now that you've tried it? You prefer eBay or Poshmark? Yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know if I prefer live selling to eBay or Poshmark. I've only done 2 Whatnot shows, and I've been selling on eBay and Poshmark for, like, 4 years. I think that the margins on eBay are amazing, but I think that Whatnot kinda takes the sales volume of Amazon that I miss because I don't sell much on Amazon anymore, and then it takes a little bit of the being able to sell anything and not all like there are rules on Whatnot, but like Amazon, there's so many headaches and rules and random fees and storage fees and who knows what. They're always changing things. You can't sell this brand anymore. You're ungated here. You're gated here. It takes away that. So you get the sales volume of Amazon, but the sell anythingness. I was messaging somebody. I said, sell anythingness. You get the sell anythingness of eBay, and you're able to move a ton of items quickly. I think that's a really good combination if you can find the right inventory at the right cost and stay consistent and build your following. People who jump on early are also those who fall when it fails. Yeah, that's true. How did Dale? Oh, okay. How did sales go on the show for you? I feel like things end up as low as $1 with no YouTube channel or social media presence. Yeah, that's something I talked about earlier. I'll briefly touch on it. Because I have a social media following, it definitely helped me get off the ground for my first couple of shows. So um, that's going to be a challenge if you don't have a social media presence. But I do think starting a social media account and just posting a quick short video of what you're selling on Whatnot, what you're finding, it's very free and easy advertising and marketing for your own stream. So you don't have to do it to be on Whatnot, but I think if you're on Whatnot, you should do it. It's funny seeing how live selling has picked up. My parents have an auctioneering company, so I've always been around buying and selling since a kid. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. How can you get people to your shows on Whatnot without a social media following? I honestly can't answer this question. I want to be able to answer this question, and I think over time, if I learn Whatnot better, I'd be able to answer this question. I started with a following, so I can't say uh, do this, this, and this. I know that there are people that have started with absolutely no following and have grown a following. I just listened to the Opal Hanger interview on Bo Johnson's channel, and I'm pretty sure that they started with absolutely no social media following, and they've built a great Whatnot business. See, Rich, which is more profitable in the short term? I think for me personally, the short term, it kind of depends on what you view as short term, but right now I make way more money on eBay. I make way more profit per item. I make way more sales. Everything is eBay. If I went and sold all my inventory on Whatnot, just starting tomorrow, and I just started selling every single thing, I think I would make okay money. I'd probably make, maybe $15,000-$20,000 in sales. But then I would be out of inventory. So I don't have the systems built up to really go hard and do that. So right now, eBay and Poshmark. But if you have the systems built up, if you have the inventory, you could definitely sell more items with Whatnot. And there's just a beauty to being able to sell more items because you don't have to make so much on every item to make a lot of money. That's the crossroads I ran into. I stuck with eBay, but the opportunity is always there. Yeah, and I think it's great that you tried it and you have that um, ability to go back to it if you ever wanted to try it again. I do think like people without a social media following, have to view it as a time and financial investment to build your platform and build a following. Uh, Luckily, I did that in a different way by growing a social media platform over the last, year and a half or so, or really just over a year and 2 months. Issue I have with live selling is I am disabled and sometimes I don't keep contact with the camera very well. My eyes roll in my head and I don't want people to laugh at me. I honestly don't think people would care or laugh at you. Um, and you don't have to have your face on the camera. I think it helps with a personal connection if your face is on the camera, but you don't have to have your face on the camera if you don't want to have your face on the camera. And also, um, like only people chatting say things. So even if people are watching, it doesn't mean that people are going to say something in the chat, even if they're watching. So I really don't think that that would be something you would run into. I think people in general are kind and very understanding. But of course, there are, mean people out there. And if you have thin skin, maybe social media and live selling is just not a good place if you have super thin skin and are offended easily. Caleb says, I've been doing Whatnot shows 4 times a week, slowly getting there. It's a game of numbers and volume on Whatnot. Exactly. Exactly. Caleb, let me know how many people are usually in your stream, like now that you've been doing it 4 times a week. Could you sell on Whatnot while in Goodwill? That's what Chris Flip the World does. He goes live from the bins. So he's selling the items before he's even purchased them. It's brilliant. From the outside looking in, the balance seems difficult. Some burn down their eBay businesses unintentionally. Yeah, I mean, I definitely saw less sales on eBay this week because I pulled basically 100 and some really good items out of my eBay store over the last 2 weeks. So my sales are way down on eBay right now. So it's hard to do both. That being said, I still made 2,500 ish dollars in sales. So if I add that onto my eBay numbers, they're still pretty good. It's hard to let go of $20 profit to $3 on Whatnot. Absolutely. Absolutely. But this is where I think it takes a mindset shift, and I think it would be really hard to do both well. I think if you went all in on Whatnot, you could change your mindset to $3 profit is good, knowing that you only have like maybe 2 or 3 minutes into that entire item. Because if you are make $3 on an item, but you only have 3 minutes into it, you can do 3 minutes, what, 20 times in an hour? 3 minutes, 20 times. 3 times 20 is 60, right? My brain's not working. Anyway, 20 times 3 is 60. Yeah. So you can do that 20 times in an hour. So if you made $3 20 times in 1 hour, what am I doing now? $3 20 times. My brain's messed up. But you see what I'm saying. If you figured out how much time you actually had into the item, $3 profit in 3 minutes. That's why I got confused because it was 3 and 3. So if you did $3 profit in 3 minutes, you could do that 20 times in an hour, and that'd be $60 an hour, which is about $100 to $120,000 profit per year. $60 compared to 20. Yeah, and it is hard. Like I definitely sold items where I got totally like I sold a Nuitags Filson down puffer jacket. I had it listed on eBay for 200 and some dollars and it sold for $105. So I took $100 hit on that one item. That hurts. That hurts. But if I was able to sell, even if I had 20 Filson down puffer jackets, it would still take me a long time to sell all 20. But if I had 20 Filson down puffer jackets, I could probably sell them all for over $100 in one show. So even if I only made $10 per one instead of $110, if you had enough supply to sell that type of inventory constantly, you could make infinitely more on Whatnot. Now, can you find that good of inventory constantly? That's the catch 22. Caleb says started back again on Christmas Day. Since then, excuse me, I have 200 followers and maybe average 5 to 15 viewers, but realistically get 2 people that buy 20 items. Okay, so you have maybe 2 people per show that become more consistent customers. So you're building that yeah, free shout out. Towie Works, TOWII Works on Whatnot. Yeah, go give Caleb a follow on there. But when you don't, the influx is hard. Yeah, if you don't have the inventory to sustain all these sales, then yeah, it's going to hurt when you try to go back to eBay or when you are comparing that against eBay because you have that store of 1,000 items that's there selling every single day and you're able to make way better margins on those items. That's why I think it'd be hard to do eBay and Whatnot. I think you have to go hard. Sandy, you have to subtract the cost of goods plus fees, taxes, $3 sale. I was not saying $3 sale. I was saying profit $3 per item. I understand that $3 sale is not $3 profit. I understand that. I'm saying if you the comment was it's hard to let go of 20 profit to $3, $3, but I was just saying if you could get $3 profit, not a $3 sale, $3 profit per item. If you could do that at a high scale is still good. But I'm saying if you get $7 profit in my video, if you're just now joining, go back to like the 15-minute mark. I was saying that I think a reasonable business model would be to make $7 per item, sell 50 items per day, and that would be $127,000 per year. What's the cheapest item you've sold on Whatnot, and have you lost any money? Well, I've not lost any money because if you look at these are things that like this is exactly why I wanted to do this video. So I'm so grateful for these questions. If you look at each individual sale, almost every single one would be disappointing. But when you're selling live and you're having a show, that's why the numbers that I pulled were the numbers for my show. If I showed you guys exactly what items sold for, every single one sold for way under what I listed it for on eBay. That's basically obvious. It's basically obvious that's going to sell for less than on eBay. The closest I got was one Carhartt jacket sold for $70 that I had listed for like $80. That was like the closest I got to selling it for eBay prices. So if you look at it item by item, you're going to be let down every single time because you're selling to 5 people in some instances. And in my best case scenario, I was selling to 100 people. Whereas on eBay, I have millions of people viewing that item. So the cheapest item that I sold, and have I lost any money? If you look at an individual item, yes, I have lots of items where I technically lost money. But on my first show, I made almost $600 in profit for 6 hours of work, made $100 an hour. So that's the number that I'm focused on. What am I actually making per hour? I've niched down to more of a big and live show, so supply big, beautiful people with big clothes that are hard to find on eBay and locally for them. Hey, that's a good idea. Have a niche market, so you're building a more targeted audience. But slowly going into an XL and undersizes since they're easier to find too, for sure. I don't mind selling things for $2 to $3 as long as I sell 50 of them on a show. Yeah, if you source at the bins, you could still be profitable at that point. Sounds great. I've been there for a year and still struggle. Yeah, it's definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy. I know that it would be. I can see how it'd be really hard to grow on there organically. I don't know what the experience is like, so I don't have any tips or helpful words at this point. Adam says, "Do you think team breaks make more profit than people doing singles?" Honestly, I don't know much about sports cards, so I really wouldn't know how to answer that question at all. I'm sorry. Blake's in the house. What's up, Blake? It all depends on what you want to do. Like some people go to the bins, don't pay much for items, and then make the quick and easy flip on Whatnot. It all depends on what you want to do. Yeah, exactly. If you source at the bins, I think Whatnot is like if you're good at the bins and you have a good bins, you could crush it on Whatnot, just churning and burning. Don't even have a inventory system. Like if you source at the bins and sold on Whatnot, you wouldn't need an inventory system. You just buy it and sell it, and then there's no inventory. I could cut my storage unit. I could cut a lot of the workspace I have in the garage. In my opinion, if you're struggling on Whatnot, it's consistently, literally, you got to push 7 shows a week, no joke, to put yourself out there and get people to notice you and make a fun show for the people. One bins in all of NYC and it's a madhouse. I can only imagine the New York City bins. Blake says Whatnot and the bins go hand in hand, legit. Yeah, I'm not a bins shopper, but it definitely has my mind going like, do I need to go check out the bins and just treat that as like a side hustle within my own business? Go to the bins once a week and there's my show. I don't know. Definitely is helpful for a cheap cost of goods. Like I said, I pay about $8 per item in the winter. So I definitely was feeling it on a lot of those items, but I knew that going into it and I had proper expectations. So if you are going to have a show, make sure your expectations are adjusted appropriately. My expectations was that no item was going to sell for a lot of money. I want to see what my profit is at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, I made $600 in one show and I made about $250 conservatively on, excuse me, on another show. I go to our bins and they can be really good, but you also have to compete with the bin bros. I don't know if you're ready for that. I'm not ready for that. And Caleb lives 10 minutes away from the bins. Yeah, that helps. Eric, what's going on? Some people do 3 shows a day. Isn't that a lot? That is a lot. I would guess that those, like, if they're selling a lot of items on those 3 shows, they probably have other people helping them out or they're ordering inventory directly to their door. Because that's the thing that I think most people, if they were doing this at scale, would really struggle with is getting quality inventory at scale without letting the inventory totally stink or without just flying through cash. I think that would be definitely tricky. What else you guys want to know my thoughts on with Whatnot? Let's see if I have any interesting information in my analytics. So my first show ever, we did 1484 in sales, which I mentioned earlier. So 1400, almost $1,500. My average sales price was $19.79. So about 20 bucks. Now, like I said, I sold Carhartt jackets. I sold New Tags, Filson jackets. I was bringing the heat because I wanted it to be good, obviously. We did 7 giveaways. We had 27 unique buyers. So for 78 items, that was 27 unique buyers. So most people were buying multiple items. Our max viewership was 168 people. But I would say average was between 75 and 100. That 168 was right after some people rated me. So then let's look at the second show. So the second show, my average sales price was $15.94. So it went down about $3. LJ, do you think social media played a part in your viewership? Absolutely. It 100% played a part. I promoted it on a long form video that got about 6,000 views. I promoted it on all my short form uh, platforms, which honestly, if you promote something in a short form video, the algorithm knows and they will tank your video. So they didn't do nearly as good as my other videos. But um, I also spent, a year plus building the social media platform, which I would recommend anybody that's on Whatnot to at least attempt to market themselves for free using social media. But it definitely helped me. Wheelie, like this is a good point. You also don't need to start your items very low if you wanted to start the auction at a normal price. And that's 100% correct. That's something I didn't even kind of get into. So that's a really good kind of talking point. There's people that have high dollar starts on their items and are very successful whatnot sellers. Like I said, I tried to start mine at either $1, $5, $10, or $15. Now, of course, the items that I knew were really good, I knew at $15 I would be safe because people would pay way over $15 even if they were just going to resell them. But if I were to, maybe list something that sells for $200 on eBay, like you could put the starting bid at $99 and you're still probably making good money. Somebody could buy and flip it, or maybe they're getting a good deal for themselves, or maybe two people get into a bidding war and it goes for 150, 175. You don't have to start at $1. What do you think you'll put more time into going further? Like, do you think you could see yourself going full time on Whatnot? I honestly have no idea. Like I said earlier in the video, I see the power of live selling, and I want to attach myself to things that have the ability to have an exponential curve. And single item reselling, buying something from a thrift store and selling it on eBay, is a very linear process. I can only process so many items, I can only find so many items every day. So, what am I going to do to make that curve exponential? Well, I could hire employees. I could, grow my business that way. I personally don't want to have a ton of employees. So, how can I do it by just doing it myself? And the ability that you can sell so many items so quickly gives it that ability to be exponential. I ran some numbers earlier. If you profit $7 per item, you streamed for 1 hour a day and sold 60 items 5 days a week. If you profited $7 per item, that would be $127,000 profit per year, which I think is attainable from somebody that has a following on Whatnot. A lot of people in his show knew who he was for sure. He also took the time to make his YouTube and get the viewers in there. Yes. Maybe consider doing Livy. Oh, listing for now for bigger ticket items during the show. Yeah, that's a good point as well. You could have a fixed listing in your show for those better items and then still be running the more items you're not as attached to or don't have, as big of a weight. Blake says, I truly believe Whatnot is only going to grow and grow. More and more people are learning about Whatnot. Hey, I hope so. I agree. Building up a social media following takes a lot of time and work. So kudos to anyone who reaps the rewards they work to get it. Well, thank you, Miss Lachey. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the chat now because seems like we're kind of winding down here. But yeah, I just want to leave this, like, if you're joining late, some of the highlights of what I said is that a lot of people view Whatnot as a way to liquidate bad inventory. And I think that if that's your mindset going into Whatnot, you're going to get buyers that only want to pay $1 or $2 per item, and people are not going to really come back to your show because it's just kind of junky inventory. So if you really want to grow on Whatnot, I think quality is key. And then also, if you're selling on Whatnot, I really think that you need to remove your eBay mindset and put on the live selling mindset, which is what is my profit per hour when I'm selling? Not necessarily when I'm selling, but profit per item, profit per hour of work that it takes into live selling. So, like I said, how I did that math was I had about 6 hours worth of work into my first show, and I made almost $600 in profit in my first show. So, on my first show, I profited about $100 per hour. If you do the math that way, you're not going to be turned off by losing money on one item when you still had a great show and made a lot of money. The goal for us resellers is to make more money selling items online. Do not let selling something under market value hurt your ego enough to keep you from making a bunch of money online. I have a lot of people in my Instagram DMs and a lot of people in my YouTube comments saying, aren't you upset that you are just selling these things for pennies? You're not getting nearly market value. And it really is just not the mindset that you want to have if you're going to sell on Whatnot, because you're not going to sell it for market value, especially just starting out with no following. You're not going to sell it for market value. You're going to sell it for under market value. I'm telling you right now. You're going to sell it for probably about 50% exactly of what it comps out for on eBay. And that was my experience with a following, maybe less than that without a following. But if I look at what I made on the show, it was still a great return on my time. But I don't have the inventory to do that every single day, so I can't go full time on Whatnot right now. But do I want to slowly build it? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I am going to be doing a co-hosted show with K-Way Shop this Friday, I believe. And we are going to do bangers only. We're going to do bangers only. We're going to do 10 to 15 pieces each, bangers only. The first thing that I pulled for it is a $250 wool jacket. Todd Gladden, how would you grow a social media following to help Whatnot if you don't want to do YouTube videos like you do, showing the business what sold, etc.? Well, Todd, if I were going to grow a social media following to help Whatnot, I would only post short form content. My personality and my style and the way that I talk does way better on long form. And I'm so glad that I found that out early on. I grinded doing shorts for like 2 months. I did 60 shorts in 60 days. I posted on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and I got no traction. I posted one video teaching about thrifted items, and it got more views than like all my short form content combined, which is it's way harder to get those kind of views on long form. And I was like, hey, I'm doing the wrong thing. So I went and I started making long form videos and I focused on it, and I actually enjoy it so much more than short form personally. Because I like doing stuff like this, just talking and trying to teach and trying to help and trying to engage with you guys. So I get it if that's not your speed. If you wanted to do it for Whatnot, I would really focus only on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts. I would find a system of making a video that works for you, that people like and is engaging, and I would just make the same type of video over and over again and get better at it. Like, say it's just showing everything that you picked up at the thrift store that week in a creative way that's your own spin, something that can take you minimal time. And then I would just refine it, try a few different ideas until something sticks. When something sticks, do that and get better at it, then try a few other things, and then get it to where you have 4 or 5 different things you can rotate through to make engaging content. Stick to the short form platforms because they have the most probability of going viral, which is reaching more than your typical audience. Going viral doesn't have to be 1 million views. If you have 5 followers on Facebook and you get a video that has 100 views, that's viral. From this, from my point right now. So that's what I would recommend doing. You also could just make it about your own person, like personal brand, because Whatnot is a personal brand. I got toddler toddler schmutz on my shoulder. But yeah, Whatnot, you're basically selling through your own personal brand. So your channel could just be a like Instagram, TikTok, whatever, could just be your own personal thing. Like say you uh just document a little bit of your day, whatever's interesting about you, whatever you enjoy doing. Um, and then those are people that follow you for you. And then you just post on your story, hey, I'm doing a Whatnot show, auctioning off, blah, blah, blah. Show the coolest items in your Whatnot or in your story. I also think it's okay to lose some money to gain a customer and potentially a repeat buyer. I think it's hard to lose money and sustain. So that's why I think if you can be uh, profitable on your show, if you lose money on an item, I think that's okay. But if you're profitable on your show or even breaking even, then you're just donating your time. My goal going into the first show was my goal was I want to lose less than the $150 sign up bonus. So I was willing to not only break even, but lose $150 on this first show just to try it. And that's why I went all out with the best items that I had because I wanted to see what the actual potential was. I ended up, obviously working out a lot better than that. If you have shows every day on Whatnot with great items, I believe you don't have to have a YouTube. Is that possible, Caleb? Yes. I genuinely think if your items were good and if you learned how to make a title for your show, how to make an engaging thumbnail for your show, if you're selling really good items, like when I first logged into Whatnot today, there was a stream that said like all day Birkenstock stream or something. And I clicked on it right away because my wife loves Birkenstocks and I've been wanting to get a pair for myself. I'm like, hey, why not? I click on it. I just, it was like automatic. Like I couldn't continue on the app without clicking on it. So if you really had a palette of Birkenstocks, people would be in that stream because everyone knows that brand. And if you don't buy it for yourself, you're buying it to resell it. So if you really had that good of inventory and could do shows all the time, yeah, I think you could definitely grow that. Harry, what's going on? You could back up the banger show with the stuff with Schmutz show. I do have a huge laundry pile right now that has so many bangers in there that just need like washed or a stain out. So you guys, the resellers can come to the stuff with Schmutz show. D says if you don't have the audience, you are nobody on what? If you don't have the audience, you are nobody on Whatnot and the right stuff to sell. So sorry. I don't understand the question. I've got a huge pile of laundry too. Yeah. I really need to figure out Whatnot lives, Jamble lives, eBay, men's. Geez, I'm all over. Audiences different for each. Well, I think from my perspective is I would pick one thing and just focus on the one thing. I would just focus on the one thing. If you want to do Whatnot, focus on Whatnot. If you want to do Jamble, focus on Jamble. If you want to focus on eBay, well, I guess if you're trying to dabble in live selling, I guess with live selling, don't try to figure out every live selling platform. Just figure out one. But I understand like you can't really quit eBay cold turkey and then go all in on Whatnot without having a following and having the inventory to back it up and blah 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 blah. So that is tricky to balance that for sure. I'm trying to figure out that balance. I'm having a baby in like 2 weeks, and my bright idea was I'm going to go the entire month of February without listing on eBay, and that'll be a fun YouTube video. And what I'll do is I'll just sell every single thing that I source for the entire month on Whatnot, and then when we have a baby, I'll just take the rest of the month off. And then, funny enough, I got super super sick last week, and I stopped listing for like 2 days on eBay because I was sick for like the first time in 3 years, and my sales totally tanked. And I was like, well, I'm not quitting listing on eBay on eBay for a month because I'll come back from paternity leave broke as a joke. So I definitely understand that the balance is really tough. It's tough to balance trying a new thing that is completely different because I think a lot of people, if you compare them apples to apples, you'll never go to live selling because you make less money. But if you can change your mindset to the amount of volume you can move, I do think that there's some uh, money to be made there for sure. Yeah, when you stop listing, your sales go way down, unfortunately. Yeah, should have saw that coming. Should listen to my own advice. Motion under, I'm having a baby in 2 weeks. Feb 17. Hey, us too. Feb 17. High five. Feb 17 is my birthday. So many people have the February 17th birthday, including Michael Jordan, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure Michael Jordan is Feb 17. All right. Well, I gotta go. It's almost 5, and I gotta go see what my wife and toddler are up to. But thanks for hanging out on the Whatnot live chat. I had a fun time doing it. And just keep in mind, I'm still new to this, and I'm figuring out this as I go. And so it's actually really helpful for me to answer your guys' questions and talk to you guys. And if you're watching the replay and you made it this far, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm really curious. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.